Hey guys, I want to go ahead and start talking about solving systems of linear equations using this new method called substitution method. Now, in previously, you guys know how to make a graph, right? When we're graphing systems, right, you know how to graph it and then graph the second line. And then wherever they intersect, that's your point of intersection, right? Well, we call that the point of solution. Well, when you graph it like that and you find the point of intersection, you call that the graphing method, okay? So you graph the system. Now, what we're gonna be doing now, we're gonna be using algebra to go ahead and solve it. So let's say they give you this equation here, 4x plus y equals 9, and then they give you y equals 6x minus 11. Well, how do you solve this algebraically to find out where they intersect? Well, you're gonna go ahead and take this guy here. One of them, it says y equals 6x minus 11. So wherever I see a y, I can put this guy. The reason is because I have two unknowns right here, and it's going to make it hard to solve. But if they're all the same letter, I can start combining. So I want to take this guy right here, plug him in here. And if you notice, now I have everything in terms of x. See, I can add these two together. This becomes 10x. And I can go ahead and solve it now. 10x and minus 11, so take this guy to the other side, becomes a positive 11. 9 plus 11 becomes 20. Okay, and then you're left with 10x equals 20. Well, when I divide by 10, 20 divided by 10 equals 2. Or you can think about it, 10 times what number gives you 20? Well, 10 times 2. Now, because this is a point, remember, a point consists of an x and a y. So now we got to find the y. Well, how do you do that? Well, now that you have x equals 2, I can plug it back in here. So x equals 2, I wrote it over here. So plug in the 2 into the x. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 minus 11 is 1. And there you are. So if I were to graph these two lines, they would cross, or they would intersect at 2, 1. Let's go ahead and do another one. Take a look at this one here, a fraction. Same thing. They gave you these two equations. So wherever I see the y, I can go ahead and substitute this guy. So this, I put them in here. And if you notice, negative 2 times y. So I have to put a parenthesis. So this whole thing goes in here, right here. Now, a lot of students get scared because it's a fraction. No worries. Just if you want, you can go ahead and put a 1 underneath here. Okay. And that's perfectly okay. Like that. So then you distribute. Remember, whenever you're distributing, make sure you use this guy in the front. So it's not just 2, it's negative 2. So negative 2 times x, negative 2x. 1 times 2, 2. Negative 2 times a positive 1 is a negative 2. And then 1 times 2 on the denominator is 2. Equals negative 13. So 2 divided by 2, that's easy, that's 1. 2 divided by 2, that's 1. Now, right here I just put x because your professor, he's not going to put 1x. He's just going to go ahead and put just the x. But now this here, I can combine it. Negative 3x minus x, that's negative 4x. Negative 4x minus 1 equals negative 13. Bring the negative 1 over to the right, becomes a positive 1. Negative 13 plus 1 is negative 12. When you divide, you should get positive 3. Well, now that you have that, you have your x, but how do you find your y? Well, same thing. You got to plug it back in. Now, does it really matter which one you use? No. But since this says y equals, I'm going to use this guy. So I wrote it down here. So plug your 3 in here into the x. And then you have 3 halves plus 1 half. The denominators are the same. So I can add the tops. 3 plus 1 is 4. The denominators stay the same. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. So my point of intersection is 3, 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if I can do one more. Let's take a look at this one. Now let's say they have both y equals. Same thing. What you can go ahead and do is take this guy here and just plug him in place here. So it's going to look something like this. The 3x minus 2 on the left, there's your equal, and then 4x minus 1. And actually this just seems pretty simple because just an equation. You take your letters on the left, so the 4x brings it across, becomes a negative 4x. And then this negative 2 brings it across, becomes a positive 2. Now be careful, 3 minus 4 is negative 1. 2 minus 1, that's a positive 1. Remember, we can't have the negative here in the front of the x. Divide by negative 1. Okay, and we end up with x is equal to negative 1. Now that we have our x, we have to find our y. Now I can use either one of these equations, it doesn't matter. I just use the bottom one, seems easier. And then 3 times negative 1, negative 3, negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5. Would I get the same thing if I use the top? Yes, I would. And you can try that on your own. So what happens? My point of intersection is negative 1 comma negative 5. And remember, the x coordinate goes first and then the y. Okay? So hopefully that helps, guys. We'll see you next time.